guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be showing all of you my eyeshadow collection. So this is where I keep my makeup. So you can see this is actually my open wardrobe concept. So I leave a shelf empty here to put my makeup. So let me zoom in a bit. So I keep all my Pat McGraths here. I got some smaller quads from Vizia and some other random smaller eyeshadow palettes down here. So let us go through this side here first. So over here, I have my lipsticks. So these are the Guerlain lipstick. So this cover, you can just open and you see a mirror here. So this lipstick is in the shade, I think it's N02. So this is more of a nude shade. And over here, this is a pretty cover. So you can customize all these covers. You can just rotate them around, put on different lipsticks. So this is, I think, is the N62, if I'm not wrong. It's a pinkish shade. And then I have another one that I rarely wore. This one I have a very nice glittery cover for it. And this one is in the shade, I think it's 18. And this one is more of a brown color, which I hardly ever wear actually. Maybe I can wear this for Halloween. And I got this Lineage lipstick that I got about a year ago. This is a very nice corally kind of shade. So this one is in the shade Sunrise Rose. I paste the shade name over there so I remember what is it. And then over here at the back, I have my Natasha Dinona mini palettes. So the first one I have over here, this is the mini retro palette. I use more of these two shades, as you can see. And then next, I have this palette over here. This one is the mini Tropic palette. I hardly ever use this one. And next, I have the mini Love. And then next I have mini Gold. This is a very nice color story. And the two newer minis. This one is the newest of a mini collection. This is the mini Metropolis. Oh, there's actually another newer one, is the mini Biba, which I haven't gotten yet. This is the mini Xenon palette. I really love the silver color over here. It's really gorgeous. And next, I have this. This is the Coral palette. It's the bigger pen size palette. So this is the mini as a comparison. So this mini Coral palette is very gorgeous, which I showed in my previous video. This looks a little bit like a mini Biba, which is why I'm still considering whether I should get the mini Biba palette. Next, I have this Marc Jacobs palette, which I rarely use. So this one is in the shade Scandalous. I have this protective cover over here. So it's actually a very gorgeous color story. I really love this palette. Next, another Marc Jacobs palette. So I only got two Marc Jacobs palette, and this one is in the shade Extravagance. I really love this shiny golden black packaging over here. It looks so luxe. So this is my palette. So when this shade arrived from Sephora, it's actually chipped. I didn't get a replacement because it was the last one already, and I really wanted this palette. So I just kept it, but some of the black specks went into the other shadows, and I find that I have some black specks in these shadows when I apply them on, which is a little bit messy and dark. That's why I hardly use this palette, but it's a very pretty palette. Next, I got these two singles are from the Sephora eyeshadow singles. So this is the blue one. I think this is a little bit too dark. I don't really use this shadow, and this white one is actually quite gorgeous. It's quite shimmery. It's suitable for the inner corner highlight. And then I have these two quads from Charlotte Tilbury over here. So this is the first quad I have gotten from her. So this is the shade Uptown Girls. I like the color story, but somehow I feel this pop shade, the shimmer here, is a bit hard pan, you can see. So I hardly use this also because of the hard pan reason. And the other quad that I bought, this is the Exaggerations Palette. So I feel the colors look much nicer on her promotional pictures. And when I got it, I find that it's a bit plain. And similarly, this pop shade here is also hard pan. So I do not really enjoy Charlotte Tilbury's quad that much. However, I have a bigger size palette. This one is from her earlier on collection. This is the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, and I really enjoy this eyeshadow quality from her. So I really enjoy the different color stories she has come up with, the green and the blues, and I enjoy all these 6 shades over here. It looks very gorgeous on the eyes, and quality is very soft, very pigmented, and very nice shimmer added to your eyes. So this is very similar to her new eyeshadow collection. I think it's called Smoky Eyes Are Forever. So which is why I didn't buy that palette, because I already have this. And my palette still looks quite new because I hardly use this. I use more of my McGrath palettes. And for my NARS eyeshadow palette, this is her eyeshadow palette. This one is the 9-pan palette. This palette is a bit hard to open. I think you have to pry open with your nails a bit. So let me just try to open this up. Okay. So this palette is called the Climax eyeshadow palette. The colors are really gorgeous. It has a grungy eyeshadow look. So I really like this blue and the green. Those are my favorite colors. Add together with this at the outer corner to darken up the look. And then this at the inner corner of the eyes. This is very versatile palette, very wearable. I have another of my NARS eyeshadow palette, and this one is relatively new to me. This one is the holiday collection. This one is the Dolce Vita. I bought this because I find that it's really very cute. You see how small it is. So you open it up. It has a small mirror. And the pen size are actually quite small. This is my index finger and my middle finger. So about this 2 fingers size. And then next will be my Huda Beauty palette. So this is the newer one. This one is the palette, I think it's called the Jaguar Wow Exceptions palette. So it's actually very pretty, but somehow I feel that using this palette, I will get a more messy and dirtier look at the end of the day. So I haven't been reaching into this as much because you can see the colors are much more smokier. So at the end of the day, because I placed the darker shades at the outer corner of my eye, I will get this smoky and dark crease, you know. So this is why I don't really reach into it, but it's a nice color story. And this is the Python palette. It has a very nice color story. I also don't really reach into this as much because I have other blue-green shades in my collection. But this is a beautiful color story. Next, I have this. This is the Newt Light Obsessions. So these colors are, I think, not as pigmented, and they are much lighter on the eye, so you really need to pack them up quite a little bit. So I have used these two colors more. You really need to pack them quite a bit to get more pigmented look. So that's why I don't really reach into this as well. And this one is the Neon Obsessions palette. This is the pink palette. So the colors are very vibrant, so that's why I don't really use this as much as well. And I have one last one. This one is the Pesto Mint Obsessions palette, which I don't use because these colors are really very light. They are more of topper shades, and for topper shades, normally I just dig into my McGraths instead of these colors. So this is my least used palette out of my entire collection. And then I have another larger Huda Beauty palette. This is my only larger pan palette from her. This is actually the first eyeshadow palette I've ever bought. So this is when I start to venture into more of the high-end and luxury eyeshadow palettes. So you can see how gorgeous these shades are. So this is the Made in Italy formula. So they are definitely better than the tinier Obsessions palette that are made in China. These shades are more creamier. But similarly, I feel that Huda shades are somehow not as pigmented as I would like. So with the exception to these few really shiny and creamy shades, the rest of the mattes and stuff, I feel you really have to dig it in to get more color out of it. So I hardly use this palette, but I really love looking at it, and I really love how pretty this palette is. The iridescent shades and all that, and how pretty Huda looks at this outer cover over here. Next, I have my Vizia palette. So this is a newer palette that I have in my collection. This is the Paris Love Letter Itanju palette. So these are the larger pen size palette. So I bought this palette because I feel it looks like the Mel Thompson palette, which I don't have in my collection. I know the shades are different, but the color story more or less seems about the same. So that's why I bought it. Oops, I just dropped my palette. Hold on. I have just tried to repress this shade. It broke, so I pressed it in a little bit. So now I should be more careful with it. So look at how gorgeous the shade are. Let me just quickly cover this. And then the next one. This is one of Vizia's newer collection also. So this one is the Bejeweled palette. It's also the Itanju palette form. So these are how the shade looks like. These are the beautiful jewel tones. So the other palettes I have from Vizia are more of the edit kind of size. So this is the Solstice palette. I really love this palette. You can really get a very gorgeous tone with all these. Very simple. And you have this special pop shade of a pinkish shade over here. Very neutral tones. Very easy to wear and very small. Comes with a small mirror. Very nice palette. And then the other palette. This one is the Midsummer Palette, which is not as good as the Solstice Palette in my opinion, because these colors are really not pigmented at all. They are very light, so you need to really dig in quite hard to get the shades out. So they look quite bland to me also, especially on my skin tone. It doesn't really show up, so I don't really like this palette. The other palette I have over here, this is one of the first palette I have from Vizier. This is the Dark Edit. This is my favorite palette too. The colors are very grungy, but colorful as well. Look at all these pop shades at the bottom. The rest are all mattes. Very nice palette. So this is a slightly larger size than the Edit palette, than the 8-pan Edit palette. So this one just has an extra row. And then next, I have the Petit Pro palette. So this one is from, I think, last year's collection. This one is the Petit Chocolate palette. I only got one of them from last year's collection. It doesn't come with a mirror, but it's very handy, so that's why I bought this. And then after that, shortly this year, they came out with 4 other Petit palettes, but I only got 3. So this one is the green one. This is the Peridot palette. See how gorgeous the shades are. And then next one, I got this palette over here, Bouillon Palette. So you have this black to really darken out the outer corner to create a smoky effect. And the last one I got was the Lapis Palette. So this is my favorite out of the 3 that I've gotten. I didn't get the red one because I feel that that palette is not so suitable for me as an Asian. So this is my favorite out of the 4 Petit that I've got. I have this palette also. This is from the Urban Decay. This is the Naked Petite Heat palette. These are all matte eyeshadow colors. I only use this once actually. I think the colors are great, very easy to wear, neutral palette, but I kind of like a shimmer, so I would use other palettes that comes with a shimmer more, like my Vizier palette, so this one doesn't really get a lot of use. Next, I have this palette that I have reviewed previously. This is the Jouer, the Mini Dip palette. So this one I find that it really looks kind of like the Urban Decay palette. So this one has shimmers in it, a few mattes, like 3 mattes, 1, 2, 3. 3 mattes and 3 shimmers. But however, I think that this palette is not as pigmented, so I don't really use this as much. I only use once for my review and that's it. And I have a newer palette that I bought recently also from Sephora. It was on a sale. So this is a Fruitcake Palette. I heard some of the reviewers say that this design looks a little bit like vomit. Well, but for me, I find that it's okay because actually I love fruitcake, especially the dried fruitcake kind of cakes. So I really love it. It reminds me of my favorite fruitcake. And these tones here, I find that it actually looks a bit like the Pat McGrath palette, her newer quad, with this blue over here and the red tone over here. So it's quite kind of nice. I like it, and it's sturdy, and it comes with a good size mirror. So I'm glad I bought this palette. This is my only purchase I have from Too Faced. So I think I'll be trying more of other Too Faced eyeshadow palettes next time. So next we'll be going into the Natasha Dinona palette. So these are the midi size. So I have my Glam palette over here. which I have departed some shades out. You can see I'm missing some shades. So I departed them into this little palette that I can bring along when I'm traveling. So this is the Glam palette. I've also departed my Midi Zendo palette. So this is the warm part of the palette. With this shade from the Glam palette, I add in this shade so that, you know, I can have a lighter shade to add in my center corner of my eye to bring some pop. So I departed this and also the cooler part of the palette with all the blue and greens at the other palette, because I think that this is easier for me to use because the Zendo palette has a mixture of these two shades, which is harder for you to see a color story to apply on your eyes. So by doing this, I can easily just choose whether I want a blue-green shade. So I will use this palette if I want a blue-green shade, or if I want a warmer color, then I'll take the other palette that I've departed. So it's easier for me to get use out of that palette. The quality of the Zendo is really nice. And I have another Natasha Dinona large pen palette. This is the Circle Loco. So my favorite shades out of this Circle Loco is definitely this. This is the Aerialist and also this Snow Cone. These are the most gorgeous shades I've ever seen in the eyeshadow palette. I love this Fun to Mime tool. As a crease shade, it's very creamy, very easy to use. But I hardly use this eyeshadow palette tool because of how colorful it looks. I need to think of what colors to use, but it's of a very good quality. So these are the Natasha Dinona palettes that I have. So now I'm going to show you my ABH palettes. So I have this palette here. This is the Carly Bible palette. So I hardly use this palette. I find that the shades are not that pigmented compared to the other Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. This is the less pigmented out of them all. So I hardly use this, but the colors, I must say, it looks really pretty. And then the next palette I have, this is the Ambrizi palette. This is the first ABH palette I have ever bought because of this beautiful pink packaging. The glittery packaging is what attracts me. And I love this blue shade over here too. This is so stunning. So I really love the color story of this palette, but I hardly use it too. I tend to use more of my Natasha Dinona or Pat McGrath, but this is a really beautiful color story. I'm glad to have this in my collection. And the last ABH palette I have is the Novena. I really love the Novena. I'm surprised at how much I love this more than my Ambrizi palette, because this is really easy to use. The colors are not so bright. It's very easy for everyday palette. I love this sole over here. So I like to use this on my crease. And then I use the Celestial or Wow Chow at the center part of my lid. And then just lighten the inner corner with one of these shades. And you get a really nice, a very nice neutral look. Very easy to wear. Next, I have this Fenty Beauty palette. I'm surprised at how much I really like this palette. Although I heard a lot of reviews saying that this palette is not pigmented and stuff. But I'm surprised I really love the packaging. It feels lightweight, but very secure, you know, very stable as well. It doesn't crack easily kind of feeling. I love it. I love this plastic packaging. And somehow it is not that big. So it is not as big compared to my Anastasia palette, my ABH palette. So I like to see the size comparison. So somehow I feel it's very travel friendly. And I love the concept whereby you can just snap another two of those 6-pan eyeshadow palette behind if you want. So I really like this palette. And I agree that the lighter tones are not as pigmented, but this part of the palette is very nice. So you can get a very nice brown neutral look. And then you just put some shimmer on the eyes. It's really a very nice palette. Next, I have my Vanessa Myricks eyeshadow palette. So this is a Lightwork Volume 3 palette. These shadows are so pigmented. When I wear this on my eyes and ask my husband to guess which palette I'm using, he thought I'm using my Pat McGrath palettes because Pat McGrath has really great shine to them. So similarly, this palette has really great shine, very pigmented, very nice shimmers. So these four, more of a highlighter shade, you can see the difference in the color tones, so they are not just all white. So this one has more of a blue shift. This one has more of a, cannot remember, maybe greenish. And this is a pinkish, and maybe this is more of a golden kind of shift. They are very nice. So you can refer to my previous video where I do a review on this palette. But I think this palette is already sold out as of now. And now I'm going to show you my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes. So this is a small travel size friendly palette. So this one is in the plasticky kind of packaging. This one is Subversive, the mini Subversive palette. So these are very good for travel purposes. So I have another one. This one is also in the same kind of packaging. This is a mini Sublime. This is how I first started my Pat McGrath journey. So I bought these two palettes, and after that I was stuck with Pat McGrath. I realized how nice the formula is and why everybody loves Pat McGrath. So these two are the first eyeshadow palettes I have from her. And then after that, I ventured into her quartz. No, I went into this 6-pan palette first. So this is my next purchase from her. So this one is the Rose Decadence, the 6-pan Mothership palette. These formulas are much more drier, and I somehow feel that they create a very monochromatic look for me. Like somehow these few shades all looks about the same. Like only the yellow is different and this shade over here. So this isn't my favorite formula from her, but I will say that it's actually very nice too. And then I'm going to show you a few of her quartz. So this quad over here is the Risque Rose. So I really love this color over here. This is the lavendering color. The rest of the colors I don't use as much, especially this. So I love this to darken out the outer corner, and this one at the inner corner highlight. But I don't use this palette as much because I got more of her other palettes to use. And this is my favorite quad from her, Interstellar Icon. So I really love how the blue looks in this palette. So you have a blue purple shift actually using this color. And this palette is on a very good discount at her website now. She's doing a, I think 30% sale on her website. So I think you should get this palette. This is a very great palette. Can create a dark smoky look. Very nice sultry look with this palette. And then this palette is the Ritualistic Rose, which is more of a topper shade. All these are astral shades. So I use this on my other eyeshadow palettes. For those who that the shimmers are not so shiny, I will put this at the center part of my lid to brighten out the whole look. So this is a very nice palette to have. And next one is the Bronze Borealis, one of our newer quads. This quad is smaller in size, and somehow there's more fallout using this quad. I just used this today and I feel that there's a lot of fallout. I have to wipe the corners of the palette to make it cleaner. But it's still a very nice color story. Next, we have her Holiday Collection palette. So this one is the Celestial Divinity from last year. So you can see how gorgeous these jewel tone shades are. I don't use this as often because I use more of a Mothership 10 pan palettes, but these colors are really great and very nice. This green is a duochrome shade, green and pink shift, as you can see. And then her collection for this year, this one is of a better quality in terms of the packaging. This one is the Celestial Odyssey palette. So you can see this is the black lacquered black packaging here compared to the cardboard from the previous one. I prefer the color tones in this palette as well. I like the color story. I love the green and the blues and these pinky shades. It's a very, very nice palette. I really love it. And then now we will be going into her Mothership palettes. So the first one is her Mothership number 1. So this is the palette that we have over here. Mothership palette number 1. See how gorgeous it is, the blue shades here. And as for the 2 astral shades over here, this has a bluish tinge and this is a pinkish finish. It's very nice and smoky, sultry look using this palette. I get asked what palette I use when I use this palette. People say that, you know, blue shades really looks nice on the eyes for me. So I really love this palette. And for Mothership number 2, the green palette, I do not have that. I'm still thinking whether I want to get the Mothership number 2 palette. But I have the third one, the pink one, the colorful palette, I will call it. So this is my Mothership number 3. This palette is always out of stock in her website. I managed to get this on a sale earlier on this year, about 20 to 25% discount. So look at how pretty the colors are. Next one, the Mothership number 4 I do not have as well because there is no astral shade in the Mothership number 4. So the next one I have is number 5, the Bronze Seduction palette. So this is my Bronze Seduction. This is the favorite Mothership palette of mine in her entire Mothership collection. I really love how this looks. Neutral but very shimmery at the same time. I have my Pat McGrath ranking video which I will link down in the description box if you would like to see that. So I always wear this for concerts or weddings, any other special occasion because this looks stunning on the eye. So I mentioned also in my video that the astral shades are somehow different from the others. They are extremely fine and glittery compared to some of her other palettes. So this is my favorite. Next, Mothership number 6, Midnight Sun. So this is my Midnight Sun palette. These shades are very nice too. They are more earthy tones, I feel. And I love this purple with all these shades over here. I really love the astral shades of this palette. It really looks very stunning. But somehow it's not as pigmented, I say. It's still pigmented, but you know, less so compared to some of her other palettes. Not as bright, I would say. Not as eye-catching. But it's still a very, very pretty palette. Very good if you want to wear it for work. And Mothership number 7. I have this in the pink packaging, this baby pink packaging. I was waiting for this packaging, so I didn't buy the one that is in the black packaging. It was out of stock, this pink packaging, for a long time. And I managed to snag it earlier on this year at a discount. Look at how gorgeous the shades are. I feel it looks especially pretty with this pink packaging. And I would say this palette is not that pigmented compared to her other Mothership palettes. You need to pack on a little bit more. But the look you get at the end of the day is very pretty. I love this shade the most. This sunrise shade, I feel. More of an egg yolk sunrise kind of color. This is my favorite shade. So this is a very pretty neutral palette. And Mothership 8. I have two Mothership 8. I have one in the black packaging, which is the one I'm using currently because I want to use this up first. This is actually the first big pen, 10 pen Mothership palettes I've gotten. So you see I've gotten much more use out of this. So this is a very nice color. I've gotten this in the pink lacquered packaging as well, and it was on sale because I'm into packaging. And I love how nice this looks like. So I haven't gotten use out of this first. I want to use up the black one. So next up, we have this Mothership 9, the newest one, the Utopian Dream. See how gorgeous the shades are. I really love this shade over here. This is the most gorgeous shade of the entire palette together with this shade. This brings very nice glittery shine to your lids, like you're going for a party. It's really very nice and gorgeous. This is the second favorite of all the Mothership palettes that I have. And next, I have this very special palette. This is the ColourPop Disney Princess Designer Collection. So look at the shades here. This is actually a gift from my husband to me on my birthday because he knows how much I love eyeshadow palettes. And look at this shade over here. This reminds me of the Natasha Dinona Circle Logo palette, the Snow Cone shade. It's really very gorgeous. So you can just add any of these mattes to your crease, and then a dark shade to darken the shade of the outer corner of the eye, and then add in this pop of shine to your inner corner and the center part of your lid. It's a very nice, easy, neutral palette. And I love the picture over here too. So these are all the eyeshadows I have in my collection. Next, I'm going to show you my face palettes. So I really love face palettes, and this is my favorite face palette. This is the Charlotte Tilbury's Pretty Blush Beauty. So these three are eyeshadow shades. So you can quickly throw on these three shades, and then you do your face using this bronzer, blush, highlighter, and a face powder to smoothen out the whole look. It is a very nice and easy palette to use. I have another palette over here. This is the Marc Jacobs palette. This is called the Fantastic Glow. I believe this is already out of stock. And I love how I can easily get my bronzer, blush, and highlighter in a palette like this. So I really love this palette also. Another one of my favorite 3-in-1 palette is this. This is the Tarte. So the bronzer, blush, and highlight is actually of quite a nice quality. I really love how the highlighter looks. The blush is also, not the very into your face kind of blush. It is a nice neutral color that adds a bit of color to your cheeks, but it's not very red at the same time. So I really love this for travel because this is relatively cheaper as well, and the size is actually not that big. It's very travel friendly. So I bought this because I want to have a travel palette in case I'm traveling. So I really like this palette. And then I have this from the McGrath. This one is the Galactic Sun. So this one contains of 2 blush and 1 highlight. I've been using this consistently. You can see somehow I get 2 lines out of this. I believe that's how I use my brush. I brush it across so I get 2 lines out of here. And I really love this peachy shade of blush. This one you get a very nice tinge of rosy shade, but this one you have a nice peachy shade. So they're actually not as pigmented as what you see here, They are of a very light shade, but you can slowly build in the pigment. So I like that I can slowly build in the pigment because I don't want a very red or very orange blush. So this is very nice, and the highlight is very nice as well. I really love this. And next, this is the first face palette I've gotten. This is the Benefit Cheeky Temper palette. So I've been trying to pen this palette, but I think it's a bit hard. So this is the bronzer, and then this pinkish blush, this Coralista. This is a peachy shade of blush. So it's a nice palette to have too, but I kind of like having a highlighter in this face palette so I can quickly do a look together without digging into my individual highlighters. So now it has become a less used palette because I have all the other newer palettes in my collection. Next, I have this individual highlighter palette from Natasha Dinona. So this is the Glow palette. This is of a lighter, I think it's a lighter shine kind of highlighter, not as shimmery. It is a nice highlighter, but it's a very big pen highlighter. I've gotten the Zoeva palette too. So this one I think is more of a blush topper. It's very shimmery. Sometimes I just use this straight instead of a blusher or highlighter, so I just put this on top. So it acts as both when I'm on busy days or when I'm in a rush. I really love how nice this pink look. I also have another one, same from Zoeva, and this is more of a champagne color highlight. I love how pretty it looks. I got these two on a sale from Sephora. And next, I got this mini palette. This one is the Firm Star Bronze and Glow from Charlotte Tilbury. But it's a mini Firm Star Bronze and Glow. It's not the original big pen one. So I love how it looks. I really love the bronzer and the highlighter in this palette. I've been saving this palette for travel. So I've been using my other palettes because I'm scared of using this up. I really love the formula of this. I have this blusher from Charlotte Tilbury too. This is the Cheek to Cheek. This one is First Love. It's a very beautiful shade of blush. So it's very subtle. So you got this nice warm peachy, I think more pinky kind of glow to your cheeks. So I really love this. So next we are going to go into lipstick. I already mentioned some of the lipstick here at the front just now. Now these lipsticks are at the back because I've got no more space in front. This is the Natasha Dinona lipstick. This is the, I need a Newt. So this is how the lipstick look like. I've forgotten the shade of this actually. I think it's Emma Rosa. Yes, now I remember. Emma Rosa lipstick shade. It somehow pulls more of a brown shade on my lips. A neutral brown. So it's more brown in color. Next I've got this. This is one of my favorites. I've been using this consistently. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury's Dance Floor Princess. So I've been using this consistently so you can see how short it become. I only bought this like a few months back. I love how easy it is to use this. It's not very pigmented. So you get a very nice pinkish, light pinkish kind of color. It hydrates your lips as well. So I really love this. And then this one, It's my first Charlotte Tilbury lipstick that I've bought. So this one is in the shade Wedding Bells. This is much more redder, but it's very beautiful as well. It's more of a pinkish color. A very nice shade. So after I bought this Charlotte Tilbury lipstick, then I realized how nice the formula is. And that's when I went to buy this Dance Floor Princess shade. I have another favorite lipstick. This is something I bought recently also. This is the Huda Beauty lipstick. This one is in the shade Anniversary. This is actually exactly my lip color. So I put this, it's exactly my lip color. It's so gorgeous and easy to wear. So next I have another lipstick over here. This is given by a friend. This is from Etude House. So I did not know the shade name of this color. It says Better Lips Talk. But I think it's expiring soon. So this is a very nice pinkish kind of shade. And then I have this Sephora lipstick over here. This is actually one of my favorite as well. I got this in a sample size and then I saw how good it was, so I went ahead and bought this full size one. So this one is in the shade, I've forgotten the shade name actually. And this is a very nice color. This is very neutral as well. And I love that, you know, it's not very big. And the formula, this is more of a brownish shade as well, but less brownish compared to the Amarosa from Natasha Dinona. Very nice lipstick. And then I forgot that I've got this tiny little highlighter. This one I bought earlier on last year. This one is from the Balm Marilo Manizer. So this is a champagne kind of color. Very nice, easy for travel. So I bought the smaller one and I still got a lot left. It feels like I've hardly used this, but actually I've been using for quite a few months. I got this tiny eyeshadow, single eyeshadow also from Sugar Pill. I bought from the Beautylish website because I wanted to try. So this is the Valoria purpley shade. I think I only use it once as my crease color because of how colorful it looks. So same thing here. I only use this once. This is in the color Mochi. So I think you can easily use this as a crease color and then, you know, going ahead with another blue shimmer and stuff. So guys, there you have it. This is my entire makeup collection. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I do. Do like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys. Happy holidays.